this video are really interested in sort of coming up with story ideas and, what makes a good idea. I know you're a staff member, so you don't have to pitch so much. However, like you still do have to come up with like good angles and unique approaches to a whole bunch of different issues. And so whether it's at Spectator or Daily Caller or wherever, how do you come up with good ideas? I guess that's the basic question I'll start with.
Yeah, so I was really lucky in that when I was working at the Daily Caller, we all had access to analytics. And so we could see in real time which stories were performing well, which stories were trending on Twitter, Facebook, what have you. And so I could pretty much tell within 5 minutes if a story that I wrote was going to perform and that people were interested in reading it. And so just doing that for almost 3 years, having a literal analytics board up in the
Mhm.
center of our newsroom, I got pretty good at learning what was newsworthy and what people wanted to read. Of course, there is sometimes not a direct overlap between what's newsworthy and what people want to read. So you have to have some discernment on that front. But generally speaking, like if you're a freelancer, I would maybe ask your editor, whoever publishes your stuff, if they can give you some feedback on which of your stories are working,
Mm.
what their audience likes to read about, and that can help you tailor your pitch to whichever outlet you're pitching to, and maybe tailor some of the article as well in terms of the angle of the piece. I always recommend trying to find a unique angle on a story. Sometimes I will just go to all of the big major liberal media outlets and see what's on their front page. Washington Post, New York Times, I'll add Wall Street Journal, although some would say it's right-leaning. And I see what they're writing about and how they're covering it and think if there's something that a reader might be missing from their
Mm.
coverage that they would want to know about.
Right.
And then otherwise, I think there's an instinct part of it too that can't really be taught. Um, just with working with interns and fellows over the years at the Spectator, uh, there there's sort of an innate understanding
Mm.
sometimes that is necessary to have in the media world of what might go viral or what might do well or might do well with which audience,
Mhm.
that there's sort of that it factor, I think, that some people just don't have and some people do. But
Mhm.
there's, again, ways to train yourself to work around that if you don't have it.
Well, and the more that you do it, like I think the better you're going to get at it. You're just going to start to realize like, oh, this would, and I find that with myself coming up with hooks and angles, like, 4 or 5 years ago, it was so much harder. And now it's a lot easier to be like, oh, here's like like just a slightly different way of looking at something. And maybe that's the one that's going to be, what gets that editor's attention.